Guys, are you ready for the first passage from Omid Scobie's Endgame? Inside the royal family and the monarchy's fight for survival. Oh, let's get to it. Welcome to Popcorn Palace. I am Andy Signor, so happy to be here. And yes, many of us have been waiting for this new book from Scooby-Doo. And as you know, he's the author of Finding Freedom, the book that we learned Meghan Markle absolutely filled him in on. They are, Omid is Meghan and Harry's like personal biographer, it seems. They tip him off on everything. She got caught in the discovery of all the lawsuit that she was going. She had to apologize to the court. Oh, I forgot that I gave him that information. Oh, I didn't know. Yes, you did. Yes, you both did. You got caught. And we're very curious about this book. How are Meghan and Harry going to have Omid detail this history? How are they going to do things? Well, People has the first excerpt from the book, Prince Harry completely by himself amid Queen Elizabeth's death, exclusive book excerpt. Here we go from Endgame. Are you ready for this? Are you ready for this? Let's read this together, shall we? We're going to do a passionate read. Let me just, for my eyesight, make this even bigger. Prince Harry was famously close with his grandmother, Queen Elizabeth, but in the monarch's final hours, he was kept in the dark about her health, according to an explosive new book. And this passage from Endgame, out November 28th, and exclusively in this week's People, author Omid Scobie offers an intimate look at Harry's journey at the Queen's deathbed last year. Here we go. Now, Endgame, not the Avengers. Meghan and Harry's. In September 2022, Harry, 39, and wife Meghan, Duchess of Sussex, 42, visited the UK for a series of engagements. While there, the palace announced that Queen Elizabeth, 96, had been advised by her doctors to rest. By the next morning, the Sussex had no idea that Buckingham Palace was already planning for the Queen's final hours and the first days of the monarchy's new era, until the Duke's phone started ringing, an unknown number. He usually ignores those. You should answer it, Meghan told him. He tapped accept just before it stopped. Harry hadn't spoken to his father much that year, but this was not the time for any father-son tension. Charles told him he and Camilla were about to leave Dumfries House for Balmoral, where Princess Anne was already by the Queen's side. He told Harry to make his way to Scotland immediately. William, who Charles had spoken to, was supposedly working on arranging travel. Harry sent a text message to his brother asking how he and Kate planned to get to Scotland and whether they could travel together. No response. I mean, again, a lot of detail here. Clearly interviewed Harry quite closely. With no further information from other family members or palace aides, the Sussexes and their team had to operate in the dark. Harry was informed that William had already secured a flight with his uncles, Andrew and Edward, but he couldn't get in touch with anyone about joining that flight. It was upsetting to witness, said a source close to the Sussexes. Harry was completely by himself on this. Oh my God, as if there were other things happening. Maybe, Charles was upset about his mom and yes, was trying to gave you guys to get there, but wasn't going to help you. You had sort of had to use your resources. Maybe if you had stayed in the royal life, you would have had easier access. With the world's media now rushing to Aberdeenshire and the most flights and train tickets selling out within minutes, travel options dwindled. Another call came through from Charles, who instructed his younger son to come alone, despite already publicly confirming that Meghan would come with him. Always the plan if they were traveling from California for this very situation. He reluctantly agreed after Charles assured him that Kate would not be there either. This is interesting. This is interesting stuff. Charles had cited protocol, but the reality was that Kate chose to stay back to pick up the children from their first day at a new school. They just didn't want Meghan there, said a former palace aide. Meghan, a fanatic, could sense she wasn't wanted. Well, good, then stay away. You weren't that close anyway. You met her a few times. Harry sent another text to his brother. Nothing. Though there were available seats on William's chartered Dassault Falcon private jet, which was leaving in less than an hour, Harry was left to fend for himself. Oh, boo-hoo! Why didn't you give me on the private jet, William, after I've already done all this terrible stuff? Oh. Again, I've bashed you on Oprah, but hey, please give me a ride in your jet. William ignored him, said a family source. He clearly didn't want to see his brother. Princess Eugenia reached out to Harry to see if he had any more information about their grandmother. She had heard from another family member that it was time, but knew little more. With no invite forthcoming from any of the family members, Harry eventually located an available option, a private charter costing $37,000 from Luton Airport. For a 40-minute drive from Frogmore without traffic. And with that, Harry started his own race to Scotland. Though rumors of the Queen's passing were rife at this point, Harry had no way of knowing whether it was true. His father doesn't carry a cell phone, and his brother wasn't acknowledging his existence. Oh, look how much they've writing, how much they left him in the lurch. Not writing all the stuff that he did to cause that. When William and the others landed at 3:50 to discover the news that the Queen had passed away at 3:10, Harry still had no idea what was going on. When his plane finally took off at 5:35 and his phone service cut out at takeoff, he remained in the dark for the duration of his 70-minute flight. Back on the ground, there was a tug of war between the Sussex team and the Buckingham Palace over whether to announce the news without Harry being informed. With Her Majesty's death already confirmed to the Prime Minister an hour before Harry left, and all other senior family members now gathered in Scotland processing the news, royal press secretaries were ready to share the news with the world. Palace claimed Charles tried to call Harry. Sources later told me there was never any proof of this, and that there was no more time left to delay. It's over. The broken bond. He and his team literally had to beg for them to wait for his plane to land, and they reluctantly agreed to hold the statement back for a little bit, confirmed a close family source. But as stormy weather over Aberdeen International forced Harry's plane to circle the airport numerous times before landing, patience at the Buckingham Palace press wore thin. They could wait no longer, and the announcement went live at 6:30 p.m. when Harry's plane finally touched tarmac 20 minutes later. He received a text from Meghan urging him to call ASAP, followed by a breaking news alert via the BBC News app with the announcement of the Queen's death. I mean, I know this is tough and all, but she's gone. There was no way for him to see it. Who cares? I just don't understand. You're getting it from somebody. You've already, burned this bridge, Harry. What did you expect? What did you expect to happen? Granted, they probably could have called him sooner and told him. That would have been the nicer thing. I'm not going to deny that, but my goodness, boo-hoo. They're supposed to just keep waiting just so you get the news first. I don't know. I don't feel that sorry. Palace sources later briefed certain papers that Charles had personally shared the news with his younger son, but this was just a move to save face. Harry was crushed at a friend of the Duke. His relationship with the Queen was everything to him. She would have wanted him to know before it went out to the world. Who cares when you know? There's this weird thing about, I should have known first. Why didn't I know 5 minutes before the public did? Who cares? She's gone. It's sad. You were on a plane. I totally believe they tried to reach you, but you're on a plane. The plane didn't have phone service? I mean, Wi-Fi? Text messages? How come I can go on Delta and go online, but you couldn't on this plane? Ugh. They could have waited just a little longer. It would have been nothing in the grand scheme of things. It's pretty big news that's clearly going to leak. You don't just sit on that forever. No, you don't. But no one respected that at all. Why is this all about Harry? And Harry's putting this out there to try to taint the legacy of the Queen's death. And
We want privacy.
wow, I hit the wrong button. Why didn't I know first? My God, she's everybody's queen, dude. When he arrived at Balmoral, Princess Anne warmly greeted him and led him to the Queen's room, where he spent a quiet moment privately, paying his respects. He had hoped to see you got to see the Queen. You were there. You made it. He had hoped to see his father, who had made it to Balmoral, in time to see his mother alive, to express his sympathies, but he was informed that Charles, William, and Camilla had already left for Burke Hall together. Again, no invite was extended to Harry. That night after eating, he retired to his room, exhausted by the day's emotional roller coaster. He was glad to have a private moment to say goodbye to his grandmother, but there was no point in sticking around. With no offer to return with William and the others in the morning, all of his texts, including a thoughtful message about the loss of their grandmother, continued to be ignored. Why are you sharing this to anybody? Why? They ignored me. Oh, so annoyed. Harry booked his own British Airways ticket on the first available departing flight. In the months that followed their grandmother's funeral, the division between Prince Harry and Prince William widened following the release of Harry and Meghan's Netflix docuseries and the Duke's revealing memoir Spare. Yeah, duh. This is obviously after Oprah. William believed Harry and Meghan blindsided the family, even the Queen. William believes Harry and Meghan blindsided the Queen, even family, including the Queen, with their public complaints and their California self-importance, an opinion he has repeatedly voiced in various ways to friends and aides during the past 2 years. I buy it. He's right. Convinced Harry has been brainwashed by an army of therapists therapists. William says he no longer even recognizes his own brother, a source said. As for how he feels about Harry since the release of Spare, a source close to the prince told me there's a huge amount of anger there. He feels betrayed and sad about the situation, but he also doesn't agree with the things his brother feels he has done. He feels he has lost Harry and doesn't want to know this version of him. That version, countered a Spencer family source, is simply Harry being a man who has stepped outside of the institution and sees things in a different light. They will never see eye to eye on this point. They are on completely opposite sides. That won't change. You could still be respectful to him, Harry, and not reveal private information. Let's keep it a buck. In May, Harry made a brief appearance at the coronation of his father, King Charles 75th, but was not invited to join the family on the palace balcony, of course, because he gave up his duties. Meghan and their children stayed home. As the Duke left California May 5th for King Charles's coronation, a decision he made because it was the right thing to support his father on such a big day, his emotions were a world away from how he felt landing in London with knots in his stomach for the Platinum Jubilee just a year earlier. Though he hasn't found closure with his family, he's accepted that things are unlikely to change, particularly with his brother, who refuses to even properly talk with him, says a source. As Harry later explained to a friend, I'm ready to move on past it. Whether we get an apology or accountability, who knows? Who really cares at this point? Wah! Give me an apology, William! Oh my God. People just are waiting and demanding for an apology are part of the problem. It's not all about you. It takes two to tango. Everybody's got feelings and thoughts and emotions, and sometimes you don't agree. And sometimes you think you're wrong when you weren't. And sometimes maybe you were slightly wrong, but so were, you were too. Both people can be wrong. This idea that I need an apology, demand accountability. For what, dude? You're still giving secrets out, and you're doing it through a third party claiming you're not helping. But come on, where else did Omid Scobie get all these details? You're just a scumbag, man. Stop sharing it all. You're just digging a deeper hole. This book they're going to know is written by you and Meghan. You clearly read it before Omid is releasing it to ensure it's accurate enough. I'm sure you could have made edits. And you want the world to know that they ignored you. They announced it while I was on a plane because I took so long. Nobody wants to be with me. So I now have to fend for myself. Oh, why do I have to fend for myself? I want to be a prince again. Blah, blah, blah. Dude, enough. This book's going to be awful. I don't know how we're going to get through it, but we are. So hit that subscribe button. Hit that bell for all alerts to make sure you get notified here on Popcorn Palace. Smash the like button, etc., because we will be giving you more excerpts along with Steph the Ultra Nerd about Endgame. Oh, I can't wait. Get ready for it, guys. What do you think of that passage? Did it annoy you as much as it annoyed me? I want to hear your thoughts down below. Check out these videos as well and stay tuned for more here on Popcorn Palace.